What's not to watch? They're the best at what they do, and I'm the best at what I do, and together it's like, it's on.
In case some of you wonder who the best is, they're up here on this plaque on the wall.
You sure you're ready for this?
I'll do my best.
Your best? Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and the prom queen.
Here we go, boys and girls. It's the best soccer show, North American Soccer Network, NESN.TV live Wednesday show. We are up and running, full speed ahead. All systems are go.
We need to hurry this up. I got an LA game to watch.
Jason and Jared with you. LA is coming up against TFC CONCACAF Champions League. That's a mouthful. It's hard to say. It's a little harder.
Not the world's greatest acronym.
It's a little harder than UEFA. And right now, as we speak, Herculez Gomez just extended Santos' lead over Seattle. I believe that is
2 goals for Herc.
That is 5-3 on aggregate. It looks like Seattle's in a world of trouble.
Seattle, nothing changed for them. It was 4-3 on aggregate before, and away goals count for 2, so they're still 1 goal out, right?
Away goals.
It's 5-3 right now.
No. Away goals are only applied after extra time, right? Isn't that what we established? So I don't know. I mean, are they applied now? I mean, this is where the. Do you understand this rule? Do we want to even talk about this rule?
I may actually be incorrect on that.
Okay, let's not go down that road.
5-3 on aggregate right now.
It doesn't matter because they're down 2 goals on aggregate. Tonight on this episode of the Best Soccer Show, got to tease this now, Sebastian Velasquez of Real Salt Lake will join us. The man with the hairdo, the man with the interesting story, the incredible story. Junior college kid, ends up in MLS. Played against LA on Saturday. Didn't get a goal, but caused an own goal from Sean Franklin, right?
Looked hot the entire time. I thought he looked very good for his debut.
Right, and the hair is a story, so we're gonna have to talk about the hair. We got to talk CCL with LA and Toronto coming up. It's a little different situation. There's no Mexican team involved in this series. It's Toronto going to LA and trying to beat LA on their home turf. It
really knocks MLS down a peg, doesn't it? Just when you think, like, MLS, we can go down Mexico, we can probably get a result, you just remember all over again how hard it is to win in Mexico.
Right. I mean, last year was a little bit of a tease, wasn't it? I mean, during the group stages last year, it was kind of, was it FC Dallas?
Seattle both got a result,
broke the duck, and then was it Seattle that got a result as well? So it was kind of like, okay, now it's over and we can move on, but that's not true at all. I mean, it's still incredibly different. And let's say this: Santos is a very, very dangerous attacking team with a lot of talent. Obviously, Herculez Gomez is the guy that we're talking about because he's American, but they have tons of talent all over the field.
We'll be talking about him anyway. 2 goals and a beautiful that one that we over the weekend that we talked about as well. But 2 goals tonight. I mean, the guy steps up when his team needs him.
Right. So this is. I mean, I'm gonna call him dead right now. I hate to do it to Seattle, but I'm gonna have to call him dead right now. I don't see them coming back from a 2-goal deficit in Mexico.
With 25 minutes to play or
something
so?
Like that.
It's going to be very, very tough.
Yeah, we are, as we mentioned, live tonight. We are on the phone lines, 201-430-BEST, 201-430-2378 is the phone number if you want to get in and talk CCL. There is a U23 roster out, and we will talk about Caleb Porter's team and what that looks like going into Olympic qualifying.
Maybe you want to talk first kick?
There's still some first kick thoughts. I mean, obviously, we did our Sunday show during New York and Dallas. There was a Monday night game in Portland in the rain. That incredible atmosphere, Timbers and Philadelphia. Timbers smoked Philadelphia. Chris Boyd looked very, very good with that.
We didn't get to talk much about the Dallas, New York stuff, like you said, because it was going on at the time. I want to know, how do you think that Henry stuff's getting blown out of proportion?
In terms of the non-chat he had with Simon Borg in the locker room after that game, I do think it's a little blown out of proportion. I was, when I competed in sports, when I was decent enough to do so through high school, I was one of those people that if I lost, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I had no desire to have a conversation about what went wrong.
Food didn't taste good.
Nothing.
Women didn't look good. Maybe not the second part.
I'm not going to say I was a bad loser, but I was definitely not a happy, not a introspective loser. There wasn't much actual thought process going on, and Thierry Henry is not. He doesn't take losing well. He never has. This isn't something that's new for him. It just so happens that he's French. He's very French.
But at the same time, he's a professional, and part of being a professional athlete is dealing with the media.
You have to talk about
this is nothing new to him. You could say maybe a rookie player a reporter comes up to him in the locker room and doesn't know how to handle himself.
Right.
This is Thierry Henry. He signed up for this, being a marquee figurehead for this league. I get that maybe you're in a bad mood after a game, but isn't his job to be the face of the franchise?
He signed to play for the New York Red Bulls. Okay, that's what he signed. That's what his. I mean,
New York media.
I'm sure his contract says you have to do this appearance and you have to do that and you have to. I'm sure that's in there. And still, he met his obligation.
For New York media. New York media is one of the worst in the country.
But is he necessarily, when he signs that contract with New York, is he necessarily saying, okay, yeah, I will be your personable face of the franchise? I mean, he's the face of the franchise because he's their best player. He's their most famous player. That's a given. But does he have to jump through hoops and do the three-ring circus? Does he have to do that? Is that required of him?
He doesn't have to, but he has up until now, hasn't he?
Okay, but do we... well, I mean, to a certain extent, I think he's been a good soldier in a lot of ways. In other ways, he hasn't been. I mean, he obviously pouts when they're not playing well. He obviously pouts. Things. It's very clear.
A superstar athlete kind of thing.
Just
lots of them. Look, Beckham pouts.
Okay, I think it's partly that. I think it's partly that the players around him are not on the level he's used to. I think that's a major adjustment that doesn't get enough talking about when guys come over from Europe. The big name guys, the Thierry Henrys, the David Beckhams, when they come over, and maybe even Lundberg. When you remember when he first got to Seattle. I mean, yeah, okay, he's a diver and a whiner in general, but he also had a lot of that frustration with teammates, and it doesn't look good, especially when you're in the locker room and you're being asked questions, what happened? And
I'll say the same thing of Robbie Keane too. I think he's one of the most visually frustrated people of any DP I've seen come over on the field.
That's true, but I don't know that Robbie has room to talk because Robbie flubs his own share of things. I mean, he causes his own amount of problems for LA. He's blown some been set up perfectly and blown chances. If you're gonna do that, you can't turn around and get upset if somebody doesn't put the ball right on your foot where you want it.
Yeah, it is kind of disheartening when you see the chances he finished for Aston Villa while he was over there. Some beautiful chances, some half chances. And he has missed quite a few in MLS. And I don't know if his head's in the game or not. But going back to Henry, I think this might be, like you said, just a little bit of an issue of a guy really wanted to come out the gate strong. And I think it doesn't help when you have a player like Agudelo. I don't think he's necessarily supporting him with his comments either.
Yeah. I think that it's drama. This team is just constant drama, and I don't.
Week one.
I know.
Week one, Jason.
It's out of the box. I mean, it's Agudelo saying that he doesn't know if he and Henry can work together, and then obviously Kenny Cooper's in this mix now. We've got Luke Rogers sitting in England waiting for his visa. Who knows if that'll happen? We talked about this on Sunday. Do you want Luke Rogers back as an American fan for the situation where Agudelo maybe gets sit down and doesn't play very much?
Agudelo's digging his own grave. When you talk about he's talking about himself as a lone striker with no partner. Yeah. I mean, come on, man. I mean, you're talking about one of the best forwards ever to play the game. Right. And yes, he's having to dig deep and he's having to drop way back in midfield to create. Well, yeah, but he's trying to create for you.
Right. I and that's the thing. Like this tends to happen when these world-class players come to MLS. It hasn't happened a lot, obviously, but especially guys that are forwards or are supposed to play high up the field, they end up dropping back to get the ball, right? They want to be involved. They feel that burden. Okay, I'm the best player. I'm the multi-million-dollar signing. I've got to go and get the ball and make things happen. And at the same time, Thierry Henry is saying, oh, we don't need a playmaker. That New York doesn't need a playmaker. Well, if you want to score goals, you're not going to be able to do it going back to midfield and picking up the ball.
If that's the case, put Henry in a number 10 spot and put Cooper up there with Agudelo.
Sure, right. Do that. Turn Henry turn him fully into a playmaker and just say, you know what? We're not going to mess around with him as a forward anymore. We're going to take him at this age in this league with his skill set. and he's not as fast as he used to be.
Look
He's
at
still
that
fast.
ball he put on that ball on a plate for Cooper. That was a beautiful delivery. I mean, if you had if I hadn't seen where the ball started, you could have told me that was a Beckham little chip, and I would have said 100% you're right.
Yeah.
The guy is creating well for his teammates. It's just maybe Agudelo has a point. Are we wasting the spot with him as a forward? But I also want to ask you, Jason, are we doing Dallas a disservice?
Talking about New York?
New York just stole the headlines.
Talking about New York.
We didn't even mention that Dallas looked good in that game.
They did. They looked pretty good. I mean, I don't think any of the games this weekend, save for LA and RSL, were really anything to write home about from an entertainment perspective. Everything was kind of ugly. But Dallas did put it in a performance.
The second half in Portland was nice.
And Blas Perez he's already a hit in week 1. Both of us are high on him. I think most people around the league expect him to score.
No surprise there.
And he didn't have to score for Dallas. And he set up. Who did he set up for the second goal? I'm blanking right now, but Villar. So he is obviously making an impact, and he doesn't necessarily have to do it just by scoring. He's going to make them better because he can also pass the ball. So
what's up? Is there a bet like there was with the NFL? Like, is there a bounty around the league somewhere about all the forwards in the league decide who can chip the most keepers in week 1?
A little chippiness. Yeah,
there's chips everywhere, man. I mean, Kenny Cooper does a little chip. Villar does a little chip.
But who doesn't love a chip? I mean, who doesn't love a chip?
Okay, let's transition for a second. Al Hassan, chip or cross?
Ooh, okay. I asked the question on Twitter. I had 1,000 no. He did not mean it, and I'm leaning in that direction. But it's also one of those things. It's half of one, half of the other. He put it up there, just trying to hit the back post, and probably hoping somebody could find it would find somebody's head. But it happened to go in. So really, it's a shot and a cross, and it doesn't really matter because it's in the net.
Here's what I'm gonna say though: after you put on a move like he put on to get free like that, I think you're cocky enough right there that you do try to make it happen.
Okay, yeah,
That's
sure. Why not?
Beautiful move to get free in the box.
Sure not. And apparently, breaking news: Santos scored again. So this is over and done. And I feel bad for Seattle. But going to Mexico, if you're not going to build a lead, a big lead at home in Seattle, then it's not going to happen. Here's the punniest joke I've seen in a while. Seattle is saying sayonara, cyan the color.
Well done by the producer.
Very nice. Back to Portland and Philadelphia. Were you impressed with Portland? This is what I said at halftime. It looked to me, and it was halftime, and there weren't any goals in it yet. But it looked to me like Portland had stayed pat and that Philadelphia had regressed. And that's a lot to do with Sebastian Velasquez not being in that lineup anymore.
I think Philadelphia's approach in the first half actually kind of worked a bit. I think they approached the game a bit cynical. I think they tried to make it sloppy. They tried to compact in midfield. I think they tried to stop service to Chris Boyd. And I think they succeeded in the first half. Did they succeed at something that I think is going to win them games this season? No. But here's the thing. You're relying on Freddie Adu to be your marquee guy now. And the things Peter Novak's saying seem to support that as well.
Yeah.
He's not ready for that.
You don't think so? I mean, okay, look, obviously Freddie
showed you he's ready for that maturity-wise or orchestration-wise.
I thought that Philadelphia played so poorly that it was almost impossible for Freddie Adu to get into the game and get any kind of rhythm going. And I'm not saying that Freddie Adu played well and that the rest of his team didn't, and it's their fault, not his. I'm just saying that I don't think it's fair to fully come down on Freddie Adu for that game and say he's not ready for that job just based on that performance.
Well, here's
because
what's
it was
scary
ugly.
if you're a Philadelphia fan. If you're a Philadelphia fan, the fact that Freddie Adu and Torres couldn't get on the same page, those are the guys that you need to link up in this. And then not to have Mwanga on the field for the first portion of that game. If you're going to go young and you're going to go talented and you're going to bet on your youth the way Philly has bet on their youth with what they've done in the offseason, you need to get these guys on the field together.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to mix a match that way. And I don't know. I think I don't know that Portland necessarily is, like I said, markedly better. I think Chris Boyd makes them better because he can score goals, and that was a very, very nice goal. Who with the cross on that? Who was the assist?
That's Hassan, wasn't it?
Was it Al-Hassan? So I mean, they've got something that can work there because Chris Boyd knows how to score goals, and if you find his head, it's probably going in the net. So
he was my pick for the Golden Boot winner.
Was he really? Okay, so I've got
dark horse.
Kouvermans.
I think he's dark horse, but I think he could do it.
I've got Kouvermans. You've got Boyd. Both those guys can put the ball in the net. Absolutely.
They just need chances.
Absolutely. The atmosphere was brilliant in Portland. Got to say bravo to them again. I mean, it was fantastic. Didn't get to see the tifo.
No different from last year. Like no drop off from last year. If anything, I think Portland's Timbers Army looked bigger when they were like bouncing back and forth.
Completely impressed the NBC sports guy apparently. All right, let's take a break. It's the best soccer show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Jason Davis, Jared Dubois back on the best soccer show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. Do not forget the Yanks Abroad podcast, is part of NASN now. I believe their first live edition is Sunday. I think they do them at 1 o'clock, so that's the first one under the NASN banner. Pretty excited about that. Brian Charetta and the boys over there at Yanks Abroad. And we were talking about...
Great time to do it with the U23 roster just coming out right now.
Absolutely, and they know all of those guys. You were talking about Portland and Philadelphia. Any wrap-up thoughts there? I mentioned the atmosphere, and I said the NBC sports guy was impressed. And that's John Miller, and he's, president or whatever of NBC Sports. Said he's been doing sports for 30 years, or in the sports and TV business for 30 years, and he's never seen anything like Portland. So that's great just from an American soccer
Makes me a little bit
standpoint.
nervous that he's been in sports for 30 years and he's never maybe heard of the Portland Timbers before now.
Well, I mean, I think that, this is a full-on 20,000 crowd versus what they used to get, which wasn't anything to sneeze at in the second division, but... You know what I'm saying? Like it's a little different.
It's got to be something to behold, though. And you and I are both. I mean, you let the cat out of the bag a little bit. That there was some tentative plans for a while there. We were thinking about maybe going up to Portland for the first kick, take the show on the road, and so you and I are looking forward to seeing that one day when we can get up there. Right. We want to take part in it.
Yeah, and you know what? Somebody said to me, I said, I'm kind of sorry that we weren't there, and somebody said to me, oh, but you're dry. I don't think I would have cared at all. Some of the best sporting memories of my lifetime have been in pouring rain. Pouring rain. I remember playing a soccer game when I was like 10. It was downpour. We scored like 12 goals or something. It was nuts. Loved it. Played best football games I've ever played when in downpours. And I mean, I don't think I have a problem standing in the crowd. I think especially with that energy
to the look of the game that night too. I think that everything's slippery, the rain coming down, the heat coming off the players. That's a Portland environment from beginning to end, from the fans to the songs, to the cheering, to the weather. That's Portland.
Yeah, and I saw an article at the Scottish Sun website, and it's the Sun, so you take it with whatever, but it was about Boyd and his goal and his debut for Portland, and he was bigging up the Portland fans. He was like, they were here the day before lining up, and I was just amazed, and it was an amazing atmosphere. It was as good as anything I've seen in the old firm derby. So it tells you right there.
Is there a lot of unemployment in Portland? I kept hearing a lot of people about like lining up for things and like they had nothing better to do.
I don't know. I think I get all my information about Portland.
Monday.
Portland from Portlandia, so I have no idea. Let's get into this.
You're a professional clown.
Yeah, you mentioned the U23 roster, and Yanks Abroad is going to cover that on Sunday, I'm sure, but we've got to talk about it here in only the way that we can. This is it's a good-looking roster. It's an attacking roster. It's a Caleb Porter roster. We can go through it if you want. You want to go line by line here? You want to go by position and give me your thoughts quickly?
Yeah, we can. I mean, you would give me a link to a story that Travis Clark wrote, who now is with Top Drawer Soccer and a former guest on the show and also playing in our fantasy league. But great article from Travis, and there's one quote in particular I want to talk about before we get into the lineup, and that's one thing that Caleb Porter is quoted as saying in here is that it's a style of play that it's the style of play that I think is really what we've tried to implement in this group. Throughout the training, we've imprint these concepts that we want to play, how we're going to attack, and where we're going to defend, the philosophies behind it. And then he goes on to say that we've got technical players, some dangerous attacking pieces. We've got athleticism, which is important to be able to important in certain positions to go box to box. And we have a group that's very honest and willing to defend immediately. Every one of those is like going down to like a checklist of a to-do list of all Klinsmann's things he says he wants to bring into the senior team.
If you were going to create an American coach that fits perfectly what Jurgen Klinsmann wants to do with this program, it's Caleb Porter, right? I mean, he is the embodiment of and he was doing it here before Klinsmann arrived. So let's give full credit to Caleb Porter, because at Akron, I mean, you go and check out those YouTube videos, Death by 1,000 Passes. They are, and they go after the ball, and they are relentless, and they will do everything that Klinsmann wants the senior team to do. And Porter's trying to install it with these guys, and it's exciting to consider the possibilities. Now we got to get through qualifying, and I'm reasonably confident of that. But I keep saying, until it's done, it's not done. But then it's London, and it's going to be a rough go. But I am more interested in how these guys play together. I don't know, stylistically, and what kind of 90-minute performance they put together, versus whether or not they win anything, whether they come back with a medal. It would be gravy. It would be fantastic to come back with a medal.
You know what I would absolutely love to see would be the most baller thing for U.S. soccer ever, is that when it comes around to announce the Olympic team, Caleb Porter just puts his hands up and goes, "No, we got this. I don't need any overage.
Oh, man.
I'm just going to roll with the guys I got."
How
sick would that be?
That's a little like what Brazil did today, which is, okay, this American roster, while it's full of talent from an American perspective, is not going to put the fear of God into any of these big countries that are going for gold in London, but it's still impressive for us. You know what Brazil did today? They released a 52-man provisional list that their Olympic team will be made up from. 52. They can only take 18. 52 people are on this. Ronaldinho's on this list. Neymar's on this list. Lucas is on this. I mean, everybody is on this list. It's like, what's the point of this? Is it literally just a bow shot?
You can only pick 3 overage, so that means that you have 49 guys that you're choosing between.
And let's not forget that the Olympics are not a FIFA tournament in terms of releasing players. Nobody has to release their players for the Olympics. You have to negotiate. This is why Mikel Diskerud going to Belgium, we talked about it was actually included in the deal that he wanted to be able to go and play in the Olympics. So these guys some of them are going to have issues from their club's perspectives.
And the counterpoint to that is that MLS is in season during that time. And I don't see MLS saying no to anyone that's in the under 23 roster, but maybe does Galaxy say no if they want Landon Donovan? And in the middle of a race. If their woes continue like they've started their season, they need to push for points in the middle of the season. Right. Do they say no?
Well, if it's an overage player, I think that's a different story. But let's talk about these guys, the of age players. Bill Hamid, Sean Johnson are your goalkeepers. Only 2 on this list.
No surprise.
There. Josh Gatt listed as defender originally on the release, and then I saw a detailed roster where he's listed as a midfielder or a forward. I can't remember. A forward.
Here's the crazy thing about this: there's only 6 defenders listed anyway, right? And then Josh Gatt is a between player, and you can make the case that Jorge Villafana is the same thing.
Okay,
so who are you? Are you really only 4 defenders deep? Truly?
No, Jorge Villafana. Well, I mean, he
plays midfield quite a bit for Chivas as well as back.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think some people were worried. I saw some of our friends on Twitter a little worried that Josh Gatt was listed as a defender. I don't think it means a whole lot. I think Caleb Porter is willing to shift things around, but I think you might have something there when it comes to
then add into
true
that,
defenders.
Perry Kitchen's not even playing defense for DC after the first game. He's playing center midfield.
Right. I mean, yeah, some of these guys are in slots. Again, but we see this with the senior roster all the time. Landon Donovan's listed as a forward all the time. Does he end up playing forward? No, of course not.
I can't remember the last time he played forward.
When's the last time he lined up at forward for the national team? So this is the same kind of issue you have here. Caleb Porter releases the roster. It's got these guys all in these positions. Who knows if this is where they're actually going to play? Josh Gatt, Perry Kitchen, Iko Para, Kofi Sarkodie, Zarek Valentin, and Jorge Villafana are your defenders listed. Freddie Adu, Joe Corona, Mick Diskerud, Jared Jeffrey, Amobi Akugo, Michael Stevens are your listed midfielders. Agadello, Boyd, Bunbury, Giao, Gao, Shea, and Tony Taylor, who was the last player added.
We believe is a makeup for Dilly Duca, right? Who pulled a hamstring over the weekend. I think that's who he's in for.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
I don't think they released who the player was going to be, but I think it's just pretty common conception that everyone thinks it's going to be Dilly Duca that he's replacing.
Right, but I mean, this is essentially the
It's
team.
all about the forwards for me. I mean, that's where there's a log jam. I want to see who rises to the top, what combinations work. It's exciting when you look at the forwards. Everywhere else, I think it's pretty much what you expected, like you said, with the reservation of gap in the defense, but who knows if that's where we'll actually see time or not. But the forwards are where it's at. Forwards are where the sexiness is.
Yeah, there's some talent there. I mean, I've said something, and it's riled up some of the fan base when I said that Terrence Boyd isn't somebody that you should necessarily be counting on, considering he hasn't played a senior team match. He hasn't played for Dortmund yet, but it's still talent. Now, there is a guy in this mix, the forward you said, that is not playing well and is a little worrying for me from a developmental perspective, and it's Teal Bunbury. Do we have faith that Teal Bunbury is going to go to London? Is he good enough to go to London right now? Is he good enough for this roster? Is there anybody you would put in this mix?
Let's say this. I think he's good enough for this roster. Especially when you bring in someone like Tony Taylor, who you figure wasn't even in Caleb Porter's plans to begin with.
Right.
So obviously, if there's one to drop, it's probably gonna be Tony Taylor.
Okay.
But you figure, let's say he takes a overage striker if they make it to the Olympics.
Right.
They take Clint Dempsey.
No, they take.
You got to
right.
drop someone.
Well, okay. Let's also not forget.
Josie Altidore, perhaps.
Right.
Perhaps
Well, okay.
Josie
He's not overage, so you could take Josie Altidore and take an overage striker. I don't know why you would necessarily do that.
You would have to drop two of these guys. Who are the two? It's Tony Taylor and Teal Bunbury, right?
I don't think Teal's going. That's why I'm asking. I don't think Teal's going to London.
Teal Bunbury is too close to the same physical build and talents that Terrence Boyd possesses, Josie Altidore possesses. I think that you can't have three of that player.
No,
I think that's why Teal Bunbury is the one that has to go. Unless he finds ridiculous form in MLS, I don't see it.
Well, again, the team that he's using to qualify is not going to be the final team he takes to London. For one thing, there might be an injury or two. For another, I mentioned that there might be some club release issues. And then, he's going to have different opinions on different players. Form is going to play a part. And then again, the three overage players. It would be incredibly baller to say, nope, don't need them. We're good. This. That would be amazing. That would be what? Well, first of all,
I couldn't even really fault the guy. Because
what would the reaction be though?
Because classically, you've always taken a keeper. There's no need for a keeper on this team.
No, I think
at least no great need. I'll say that.
Bill Hamid and Sean Johnson are both completely healthy. Those are your guys. You're right. You don't need an overage keeper, and that gives him more flexibility. That's actually a major bonus for him. To not have to take a keeper. How many
teams in this tournament will be taking overage keeper? I guarantee you a lot of them.
A lot of them, but not all of them. It depends on the strength, but I was asking, what do you think the reaction would be to Caleb Porter if he did say, and he won't, but if he did say, I'm not taking any overage guys, we're going with this team? What would the reaction be?
I hope they'd be like me and just like, do it, dude. Do it.
People would freak out.
Live on the edge, man.
People would freak out.
Out. Right now, I want a drop of Highway to the Danger Zone when we talk about that because, this guy's flying on the edge of his seat.
This is, yeah. If he did it. He's not doing it. That's the thing.
I kind of want him to, though.
You just want to see what would happen.
I just want to see where these guys measure up, what they can do.
We got about 45 seconds, and then we're going to get to Sebastian Velasquez. So who are your overage guys?
For me, I take Michael Bradley, Clint Dempsey, and Landon Donovan. No, I apologize. I take Carlos Bocanegra, Michael Bradley, and Clint Dempsey.
Yeah, I think you take a defender.
In season, you don't need to push him after having barely any break. I think you get something fairly equal to Clint Dempsey.
I think Clint Dempsey is an obvious choice, especially considering. I
think you go with the spine. You just go with the spine straight up the middle. Bocanegra, Bradley, Clint Dempsey.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, Sebastian Velasquez of RSL will join us, talk about hair and debuts in Barcelona. Don't go anywhere. Best Soccer Show, NASN.TV. Jason Davis, wow, Jared Dubois back on the Best Soccer Show, NASN.TV, the North American Soccer Network. And joining us live on the phone, Sebastian Velasquez from Real Salt Lake. Let me get rid of this music because it's starting to annoy me. Sorry. Sebastian, how are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are y'all?
Not too bad. We gotta talk about your debut. We wanted to get you on, man. You became kind of a sensation on Saturday night. What was the reaction? We're gonna get to the game in a second, but I want to know what was the reaction from people back home, friends and family. Whatever. How did people respond to your debut, your MLS debut with RSL?
Well, it was something that a lot of people were watching the game back home from where I'm from, South Carolina, back home in Colombia. everybody was watching the game, when the way things played out was pretty amazing. It was something that I couldn't believe, they couldn't believe, and it was just incredible. Something all of us were like kind of like celebrating together, and everybody was congratulating me. Everybody was just happy because a lot of people had seen how much I used to work,
right.
Not just at practice and stuff. I used to always do like extra stuff. I would go to an indoor and stay day in, day out from like 6 in the morning to like 10 at night and just play, train, do all type of stuff, train little kids and stuff. And finally all the hard work, I feel like all the hard work has paid off to get to where I wanted to be. Now it's just hard work to stay where I want to be and just keep progressing as a player.
Sebastian, we definitely want to get out and talk about your story, but real quick before we move on from the game on Saturday, when did you find out you're getting the start? How did you find out, and how surprised were you when you found out you're going to be starting the very first game for one of the title contenders for MLS?
I actually found out on Friday night at a meeting at about 6 o'clock. We were sitting there, and coach came out. He gave the starting lineup. And next thing you know, I saw my name on the left side, and I was like, "Man, I'm starting." and then he showed the list. After that, he turned the page and showed the list of their starters, and I was like, "Landon's on my side." And so from there on, I was like, "Okay, well." And for me, to be honest, at first I was nervous. As soon as I found out I was starting, I was nervous. But at the same time, I was like, "I'm gonna have to go out there and just give it my best." I mean. I'm not only debuting, but I was debuting against the defending champions from last year.
Damn.
And we were on the road, and like I've always said, Real Salt Lake versus LA, it's a clásico. It's a big rivalry game.
Right.
And for me, it's just a blessing to be able to play in that game.
Sebastian, I think some people know your story, your background, where you came from, how you got to RSL, but talk us through, the last couple of years, your soccer story. How did you get to where you are now?
Well, I played club soccer when I was a little kid. I started going up through the academy. I played for a lot of young clubs. Then the first time I ever got recognized to go to probably, let's say, the next level was when I got invited. I didn't include that in my story, which it really surprised me. I totally forgot. But I got invited at 16 to play in the Youth World Cup with the national team. But I was supposed to move to IGM. The thing about it was that I didn't have a U.S. citizenship.
Right.
And they found out. And so when they found out, they gave me a call. It was on a Sunday night. They gave me a call, and they were like, "Hey, we realized you don't have a citizenship. We thought you were a citizen from when you had told us." And so I couldn't go. That really, like, I got my hopes up so much because it was like I'm about to represent the youth national team. So then from there, I kept training. I kept playing. And then I got a huge opportunity, which was I was able to go to Barcelona. I was there for 15 days. It was an experience that I will never forget. It was something that helped me grow as a player. I learned a lot of things. But things just didn't work out. And the reason things didn't work out there was also because of my paperwork. I had a Colombian visa that was only for 15 days.
Yeah.
Ah.
And they didn't want to extend it for me to 6 months. Then
but Sebastian, by taking
that
opportunity, didn't that also you after taking the opportunity, you technically couldn't play college ball, right? And did you know that when you took the opportunity to go train with them?
I honestly had no idea. I had no idea that would take away my college eligibility, and that's something that really affected me. And the fact that once I did get to college. Well, I went from Barcelona, then I tried out against Espanyol. Well, I tried out for Espanyol the year after, and then that's when I got finally my last option, which was 2 weeks before school started, was to play in college.
Well, let me ask
the junior college.
Yeah, let me ask you a question about Barcelona and Espanyol. How did they see you? Where did they find out about you to invite you over for training?
What's crazy, to be honest, is that a guy that used to play for Barcelona in '86 through '88, Steve Archibald. He was a Scottish guy. He came to Greenville, South Carolina. I don't know how he ended up there, but he came to Greenville. Out of all places, he got to Greenville, and he did just a little mini camp, just asking people. He just wanted to see people play and stuff for a couple of days. And I went, and I actually went. Somebody told me, hey, show up at this place at this time and just go and just do it for a couple of days, just do this camp. And he ended up choosing me. He was like, hey, I really believe you can play in Spain. It seems like it's your style. And so he told me, he was like, I'll take you to Barcelona, but to a second division team. And I was like, that's awesome. I'll go to a second division team, and then I'll just try to work my way up. Once we got there, I remember watching the B team train. No, they were playing actually. Sorry, they were playing in a final. And he looked over at me. He was like, I honestly think you can play for that team. So I guess he made a couple of phone calls, and then after that, just a day after, I was sitting there training with Barcelona's youth teams. And I actually got to see in person the first team train. They were just like, there was a fence that was closing, and I got to see him train, which was pretty amazing, just to see these guys that you see on TV every day just a couple feet away from you.
How hard is it, Sebastian, when you get that close to greatness and that close to seeing your dream come to fruition, then you come back to the States and realize that it could all be in jeopardy because you have no eligibility, and now you have to go through a completely different system than the majority of players in this country and try to get to where you want to be through junior college?
Yeah, and what for me, the thing was that I had no idea. Throughout while I'm on this journey doing tryouts, I had no idea about the eligibility thing. I had, for me, it was just I thought I could go try out. If things didn't work out, well, hey, school's about to start, and then just go back to school. Once I got to the junior college, which was the last opportunity for me, because the fact was that school was going to start in 2 weeks. And my school is just, the school that I went to is just 10 minutes away from my house.
Right.
So I went there, applied, got a whole bunch of different money from government and stuff to help me out, and then I played there for 2 years, and that's when my mom made the decision to move back to Colombia. So they provided my housing, my food, they helped me out with everything, and I honestly I have to appreciate all of that. I always take that in, and I'm always reminding myself of that to work even harder. And once my 2 seasons had ended, my plan with my coach was to try to get me to a Division I college,
right,
and then move on, and then see if I could probably get drafted. Who knows? I probably wouldn't even got drafted. But then once the season ended, the second season ended, I received a phone call, and they're like, "Hey, we found out about your trials and stuff. You can't go to school anymore." And I was like, "Wow!" I was like, "Really? That? Why? I didn't make the team. I didn't do this. I didn't do that." They're like, "It's just the way it is. You lost your eligibility when you did those tryouts. I'm sorry, and best of luck." And then you're just sitting there looking around like, wow, what am I going to do now? And so I remember I was talking to my mom. I called my mom. I was crying and stuff, and I was like, "Mom, I guess I'm just going to move back." And she was like, "Yeah, well, you're my son. I'm here for you. If you want to move back, come back." And that's when I made a phone call of appreciation. It was just a phone call. It was to the Clemson coach, because he showed so much interest in me. He would go to my games. So I was just really appreciative of that. And so I called him, and I was like, "Hey, things aren't going to be able to work out." And the only thing he asked me was like, "Do you want to be a professional?" And I was like, "That's my dream." And I told him yes, and he asked me 3 times, and I kept telling him yes in every different way. And then he was like, "You're going to receive a call in 5 minutes." And in exactly 5 minutes, I received the call, and it was from RSL. I got the setup for the tryout, which was December 8th through 11th, the RSL Combine. And then after that, things worked out. I got drafted at 36, which was pretty amazing for me. And thank God I'm here. So to be honest, I have to say RSL saved my let's say, I guess my career as my dream. So saved my dream.
You had no idea until you make this phone call to the Clemson coach, and he hooks you up with this tryout at RSL. You had no real thought that you might get drafted in this MLS draft. None at all.
No. I had no. Actually, I had my head down. I go seeing myself in Colombia doing I don't know what. But before I made that phone call, my thought was, I'm going back to Colombia. I'm not going to make it. I'm going to be a could-have player, but I'm not going to make it. Like, I've tried every route. I've gone on tryouts. I've done the school route, and just things just didn't seem that was going to work out. And then I made this phone call, and then my face turned to a big old smile, and I was going to have a tryout. So
you know, Sebastian, I have a hard time believing that you couldn't
around.
get noticed with the type of hair that you seem to put out there day in, day out. I've seen some pictures, man. I know it used to be funkier than it is now. Tell me about how it got to the way it is now, because I hear there's a story behind that.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, I had this huge, like, my hair was shaggy. It was the first time I let it grow out. My hair was shaggy. It was, like, almost to my eyebrows. And from there, I had, like, a diagonal blonde, like, mohawk thing going on. Then I had a couple of designs on the side of my head. And so I show up to practice the preseason, and from times throughout the practices, I was hearing, like, remarks like, somebody wants to cut your hair, somebody wants to cut your hair. And I was catching on to it. I just wasn't sure who was the one that wanted to cut my hair. And it wasn't until I got on the elevator, and we were going up I was tired from practice, and then I'm by myself. It's just amazing how I put myself in that situation where I'm by myself with Olave and Morales. And so Morales, like, hugs me and stuff, and he's smiling and laughing, and I'm not catching on at that point. But Morales grabs me, and then Olave's right behind him just so I wouldn't run away. And obviously you can't run away from him. So so there was no turning back. And they just take me to the room, man, and they just go to work on my head. Like, they have these little peanut-shaped it wasn't even a haircut machine. It wasn't a haircut clipper for like hair on top of your head. It was for the beard, the little beard one.
So
they just go to work on my head, and, like, they cause pain in my head because the first thing, obviously, my hair was long, and if you put a little peanut thing like that, it just yanked. It was yanking my hair. It was painful, but at the same time, it was a lot of fun.
It's not like Javi's has always had the best hair in the world. I mean, I'm not coming down on your hair, Sebastian. It's personality. I love it. Jared and I are both big fans of just do your thing. But it's not like Javier Morales has had the best hair in the world in the past. So it's kind of funny that he's involved in this. We got to cut the rookie's hair.
And I love they left you the rat tail, though. Now, was that your choice to leave the rat tail, or did they just leave you with that?
No, I begged them. I absolutely begged them to keep my rat tail. That was the one thing, because when my hair started growing, that was the first time I'd ever grown out, like, my rat tails. And the thing is, in Colombia, everybody has the same thing. Yeah. They have like a rat tail looking thing. So I begged them. I was like, man, this is a year of work here. I got back here, guys. Please don't cut my rat tail. I was like, I paid $15, man. I've got it painted. I got it all hooked up. And if you guys cut it, man, I'm not gonna be able to play. And so I'm, like, throwing out different excuses, and Morales was like, okay, he finally came to the conclusion. He was like, all right, we're just going to buzz your head and just let you keep the rat tail.
Back to Saturday for a second, Sebastian. I know you mentioned that you were on the same side as Landon Donovan. I think everybody noticed after the game there was a little shirt swap action going on. I heard a story about the reason for the shirt swap. Can you talk a little bit about why it was important to you to get Landon Donovan's shirt?
Yeah, definitely. When my mom was here, we used to always watch the national team play on TV. We used to, when we watched them play, I think it was one time Landon scored, like, a last-minute goal, and I think it was in the World Cup. He scored a last-minute goal where he went to the corner and dove and stuff, and my mom just absolutely loved him. And she was screaming his name, and she would say, "Mi Landon, my Landon," and all this and that. And so I always knew my mom's favorite. She was like, that's my favorite player. Landon is my favorite player. So now I got a chance to play with him. I'm on the same field with him. I'm like, this could be something special, not just for me, but it could be special for my mom in some way. So as soon as the game's over, I'm, like, looking for him, and I run just after him. And what I thought was special was that a player of his talent, like, with his recognition, to, like, have given me his jersey, because honestly, he didn't have to do it. He could easily just be like, oh, I can't or something, But he was like, no problem, I'll give it to you. He gave me a hug and gave it to me. And then I called my mom after, and she was, like, going crazy. She didn't even know. I guess she didn't see that part. And I was like, Mom, guess what? And she was like, what? And I was like, I got you Landon's jersey. And she started screaming on the phone, and it was amazing. It was just fun. It was amazing for me and my mother to be able to share that.
Hey, before we get you out of here, Sebastian, I kind of got to know, when I get someone from Colombia on the line, or someone with Colombian roots, I got to know, Sofia Vergara, is she just normal hot for Colombia, or is she hot even for Colombia?
Sofia, she's hot. Like she's very hot. But
so
I
even
mean,
in Colombia, she's
Colombia,
hot.
Man,
it's not just like a bunch of Sofia Vergaras walking on the street.
Beautiful women. Those girls there are very hot. But I mean, Sofia is out there, man. She's pretty bad. But to be honest, if you go to Colombia, like you walk around with your mouth open, like just drool. so I mean, it's just a thing that you have to experiment for yourself. Like once you go down, like when I went, everybody was like, "Oh, go to Colombia, man. You're gonna see something." And when I went, I was just like, and I have big lips. The thing about I have big lips, so my lip was hanging, man. I was just like, just looking around, like, wow.
They dig the rat tail down there, so you're all good, right?
Yeah.
All right, Sebastian Velasquez, Real Salt Lake, magnificent debut on Saturday. Congratulations on the start and future success, man. And keep the hair. We love the hair. Keep the hair, Sebastian.
Keep being funky too, dude.
That's right.
No, I'll definitely keep my hair, man. And actually, I'm growing my mohawk back out. I'm ready to get my mohawk back out, get the little blonde again. Hopefully this time it won't be cut.
Yeah, stay away from Olave. Off the field.
Yeah.
Off the field. Thanks a lot for your time, Sebastian. We appreciate it, man.
No, thank you guys for the invite.
Best of luck.
Y'all have a great night.
All right. Sebastian Velasquez, that is an amazing story. That is an amazing
story that U.S. soccer needs.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah. It's just one of those things. Like I think sports throws these up at you every now and then, right? And it's amazing. I mean, the fact that it's just so many coincidences, and you know, he had some setbacks. Like you go and trial at Barcelona and Espanyol, and you ruin your eligibility to play D1 soccer.
That's just what's kind of shocking, is that there's no one around him, and maybe that's where youth soccer is failing in this country, that no one's preparing him for the consequences of taking these opportunities. Right. And there was no one around that said, hey, by doing this is going to happen to you. I mean, we're failing if we're not setting kids up like this.
I mean, I don't know. Who's supposed to tell him this? Who's supposed to know? I mean, if he just wants to be a professional, period, and he doesn't care how he gets there, you're not going to turn down a trial at Barcelona or Espanyol. You're just not going to do it. So,
or at least if you're going to do it, you should be aware of the consequences.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why would he care?
Set him up like that.
Why would he care? So the Scot from Barcelona comes into his little town, like you said. It's kind of a random shot in the dark, and takes him back to Spain and says, all right, we're going to give you a shot. And it doesn't work. I mean, he mentioned the visa issue, and he said he wasn't a citizen then. By the way, he's a citizen now. He's a U.S. citizen now. So if Sebastian Velasquez becomes the next biggest thing in MLS, you'll be seeing him in the national team picture at some point. But it's just, you know, it's an amazing story. Can
you imagine Breck Shea's hair on one side of the national team and Velasquez's on the other side?
Well, you got Juan Agudelo sporting that thing now, whatever that is. So
hey, listen, American youth soccer players, you're getting your hair game on tight. I appreciate
nothing wrong with a little flair in the hair department. Who cares? They're professional athletes. They should be able to do whatever they want with their hair. It doesn't matter. It's not like it's going to affect their job performance or
I just hope that there's kids out there that are like at the same age or same time frame of their life as Velasquez are going to listen to that interview and think, maybe I'm not going to give up yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like it's just an amazing story.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll close out this edition of the Best Soccer Show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. Thanks again to RSL for setting that up with Sebastian Velasquez. Don't go anywhere. Jason and Jared back on the Best Soccer Show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. I think I jumped the gun right there. Let's talk about Montreal, Jared. 50,000
last week
plus.
Or this week?
Well, this coming week, because they are having their home debut at Stade Olympique or however you say it in French. I forget.
This is their chance to throw that first bitter pill, the taste in their mouth, wash it out. They have an unbelievable opportunity right here to set their home season off with a bang. 50,000 people.
This is not the first time Montreal has drawn them for a big game. I mean, this is a big game because it's their MLS debut. But do you remember that CONCACAF Champions League a couple years ago?
Yeah.
I can't remember who they were playing. A Mexican side. I mean, they ended up losing, but an amazing run to the quarterfinals, I think, and they got 40,000 plus
right now. Yeah,
40,000 plus in that building. For that team, and they were in the second division at the time. So it shows you that there is major soccer passion in Montreal, and they've got 50,000. They've added seats to try to break the record for largest soccer crowd in that city. I think the record goes back to the Montreal Manic days of the NASL.
So my question to you is: do those fans go home happy, or go home sad?
First tell me who they're playing because I absolutely forget.
I'd have to look it up as well. I totally forgot right now. This weekend, they are up against Chicago. That's a winnable game.
Okay, look, I don't want to come down on Chicago. Didn't play in week 1, so we have no idea what to expect out of Chicago. Montreal.
I see a lot of people tipping them for a huge improved year. I'm not seeing it though.
They've added some pieces. It's going to be interesting in Chicago. I think Montreal wins the game behind that crowd. Let's say 1-0. I'll give them a 1-0 win.
I hope they do. I think it's starting off on a good foot like that is a great thing to keep those fans coming, keep them around, and everyone knows if you can stay viable with the fans, you're going to stay viable as a team. That's a lot of revenue, and I think that Vancouver and Toronto have set the bar pretty high for Canadian teams in terms of fan base and fan interaction and support. So I think they have to at least match that, but they might be able to put one up on them.
Let me note here, a quick change of subject, that Seattle got destroyed by Santos. What was the final aggregate score? Was it 7-3?
The last score I saw was 6-1 on top of 7-3.
7-3 aggregate. So Seattle went down to Mexico with a lead and got absolutely blown out of the water. Apparently, John Kennedy Hurtado had a terrible game for Seattle. I have to go back and look at that. It's
not that often you're going to see that. That's a good player.
And no score in L.A. and Toronto as far as I know. Let's hit quickly some emails before we get out of here. I got 3 of them this week from Joseph McLean. NBC covers look good. Obviously, they still need to realize there isn't much time to show replays. They'll figure it out. Arlo White was extremely talented. Martino was less annoying than he normally was. You believe that?
I don't find him that annoying anyway.
In general.
For me, I didn't have any problem with him.
Right, give him time. I'm sure he'll be annoying again, says Joseph. There were 2 thoughts that kept coming as I watched the game. Note to Red Bulls, number 14 is on your team. Stop standing and staring at him like he's growing an extra arm. And this relates...
In New York's defense, they know 14's on their team. They just expected him to be up front.
Yeah. This relates to point 1. I'll be screaming in my sleep, holy crap, get open for Henry. Not a New York fan. It's hard to watch. And then he says something about Kenny Cooper came on and was reminded how huge he is in comparison to everyone else. I know he's huge, but every time he steps on the field, it's visually striking. So I got to thinking, if we're going to start an MLS fight team or MLS enforcer squad of 10, who would you include? I would start with Cooper because he looks like a tank. Then again, maybe it's just who he was standing next to. I'm not putting Kenny Cooper on that team. I'm not doing
I don't think so either. No. I think he's got the size. I'm not sure if he's got the... I don't think he's just not as threatening, I don't think. I like this idea, by the way. I like where your head's at, Joseph. I'm going to say my number 1 pick in the UFC MLS combo team, Connor Casey.
Amundsen Olave is my choice for that. We may have done something like this before. All the guys, the scrappers, the little guys that you would want on this team are retired now. Franquino's retired. Dimo Kovalenko's retired. Ben Olsen is retired.
Joey Franchino. Yeah, Joey Franchino, man, he would definitely mix it up.
Yeah. Let's see.
He's got that ginger rage, too.
Nick, got to call you out on the Martino. This is for me. From Nick. Got to call you out on the Martino thing. For months, you've demanded an American announcer to develop our in-country talent. And he says he agrees, but now you've got it, and you seemed pretty lukewarm. My issue is not with the analyst chair. The analyst chair is whatever. We get Americans in that chair all the time. John Harkes and Kyle Martino and Taylor Twellman and Alexi Lawless, and list goes on and on. It's the play-by-play guy that is my biggest issue. I get that Arlo White is very talented, and I enjoy listening to him call a game, but I'm still of the opinion that America needs an American voice. We've got Ian Dark and Arlo White. Where's the American voice? And I'm not talking about the sideline reporters.
I'm just going to let your comments hang there because I know you want me to come back at you, but I've made my piece.
Don't. Let's see. That was it from Nick for the most part. And then Will, what's up, guys? Wondering if you have any updates on Fabian Johnson's injury. think I knew he was injured, but I don't know any updates on that.
I just know that I knew he had gotten hurt, and he was expected to start against them and got hurt, I think, in warm-ups.
Yeah, go find Brian Sciaretta and ask him. Let's see. Let's hope it's nothing major. As far as I'm fairly positive we found the perfect fix for our left back situation. You believe by
after one
Fabian
game?
Johnson? Right.
I like what he did too. I love what he did, and I think there's definitely an option there. But you got to see 2 or 3 more games before you can really, really say that it's fixed.
And
right?
Will wants predictions for this week's MLS games, or at least the big one, LA, DC. Keep up the great work. Look forward to the show every week. And then he says something about Dupe and Latu.
Is
Are
that
we doing
really
predictions?
the big one this weekend? Isn't I guess maybe it is. RSL New York seems like a pretty good one. I guess maybe it is. LA and DC. That's
well,
really
I mean that's the
on how
battle
many starters you see.
That's the battle of the most successful teams in the league's history, right? Those are the 2 teams that won the most things, and that's why people hype it up. I'm not buying.
Gary Kitchen gonna be probably with the under 23s.
Right.
Bill Hemby is gonna be away with the under 23s. Nahar I think is gonna be with the Costa Rican under 23s, and then you have LA, who's probably not gonna play a lot of their guys because of CCL. So I really don't know what to make of that game.
Yeah, no, have no idea. Montreal, Chicago, San Jose, Houston, Kansas City, New England, Dallas, Portland, Seattle, Toronto, RSL, New York, Chivas, Vancouver, and then is that another Monday? Oh, it's a Sunday, Philadelphia and Colorado. I'm not giving predictions.
I guess the San Jose Houston one's got some cool storylines to it.
Yeah, sure. Until Houston is at home opening up that building, I don't know if I'm going to be paying much attention. I'm kidding. I'm going to watch every game. It's what I do. All right, let's hit this. iTunes ratings and reviews as usual. Roku under Blip TV. We're on Boxy apparently. I think that's the Ustream app I heard. I guess that would be our live editions. I don't know how that works. We'll find that out. Apple TV. Jared, emails.
We're everywhere
and
but TMZ.
Twitter. Yeah, at Best Soccer Show on Twitter. Get on that. We need more followers. I'm not sure how many we have, but we're over 1,000.
Yeah, whoa. They're still catching up to my personal account, okay? We don't need too many followers. I can't be overpassed.
And we're doing the fantasy thing at MLSsoccer.com, and unfortunately, I don't have the code in front of me.
We'll put it up on Twitter again.
Yeah, well, it's on BestSoccerShow.com. I think I put a post on our blog with that. I think that's going to do it, right? Beat J Rodius hashtag. I like that a lot. I like it a lot.
Oh, that's not hard to do. It's like 30 people already doing it.
All right, everybody, go check out, go watch your CCL games. Sorry
Thanks
to
to
Seattle.
Sebastian Velasquez for
Thank you
coming
very
on the
much.
show.
Everybody, we will talk to you on Sunday, Monday, whatever. Bye.